The 5 Life Metaphors, Keynote Body. The home as a mirror of oneself. Our homes are not just structures of wood and concrete, they are reflections of our inner world. Every corner holds a story, every object carries a memory, and every task reveals a truth about how we move through life. When we tend to our homes, we are, in many ways, tending to ourselves. The state of our living space often mirrors the state of our emotional space, and the rituals we perform within it become quiet declarations of who we are becoming. Tonight, I want to guide you through 25 everyday chores and show you how each one symbolizes a deeper human discipline. These are not just tasks, they are metaphors, invitations, and reminders. They teach us responsibility, clarity, resilience, and compassion. They show us how to release, renew, rebuild, and rise. And if we listen closely, they reveal that the path to a meaningful life is not found in extraordinary moments, but in the ordinary ones we choose to honor. Fixing broken items, healing what's damaged. Fixing broken items teaches us that not everything damaged must be discarded. Repair becomes a metaphor for healing. It requires patience, skill, and care. This chore reminds us that restoration is possible. It shows us that value is not lost in imperfection. Fixing things teaches resilience and resourcefulness. It encourages us to choose repair over replacement. It reminds us that healing is a process, not an event. And in restoring function, we restore hope. The act of mending becomes an act of honoring what once served us. It teaches us that brokenness is not the end of the story. And in the end, we learn that healing is an act of love. Changing light bulbs, seeking illumination. Changing a light bulb is a simple act with profound symbolism. When a bulb burns out, the room dims, just as our clarity dims when we lose direction. Replacing it becomes a metaphor for seeking insight. It teaches us that illumination requires action. This chore reminds us that clarity is within reach. It shows us that darkness is temporary. Changing the bulb encourages us to restore what helps us see. It reminds us that insight often comes from small adjustments. And in bringing back the light, we bring back possibility. It teaches us that enlightenment is not mystical, it is practical. And in the end, we learn that seeking light is a responsibility we owe ourselves. Feeding pets, responsibility to others. Feeding pets teaches us empathy and consistency. It reminds us that others depend on our care. This chore becomes a daily act of love. It shows us that responsibility is not a burden but a privilege. Feeding pets teaches routine and compassion. It encourages us to show up even when we're tired. It reminds us that love is expressed through action. Caring for pets becomes a mirror of how we care for ourselves. It teaches us that nurturing strengthens connection. And in feeding them, we nourish our own sense of purpose. Feeding pets becomes a ritual of devotion. And in the end, we learn that caring for others deepens our humanity. Cleaning the fridge, confronting expired beliefs. Cleaning the fridge forces us to confront what we once thought we needed. Expired items symbolize outdated beliefs and habits. This chore teaches us that holding on can be harmful. It reminds us that freshness requires letting go. Cleaning the fridge becomes a metaphor for updating our internal systems. It shows us that discomfort leads to clarity. It encourages us to make room for new nourishment. It teaches us that waste is part of growth. Not everything we keep will serve us forever. And in clearing the old, we invite renewal. The empty space becomes a canvas for possibility. Cleaning the fridge becomes an act of emotional honesty. And in the end, we learn that renewal begins with release. Mopping floors, healing emotional spills. Mopping floors teaches us that spills happen, in life, in relationships, in emotions. This chore becomes a gentle act of restoration. It reminds us that healing requires attention. Mopping shows us that messes can be cleaned. It teaches us that shine follows effort. It encourages us to address disruptions quickly. It reminds us that care creates safety. The floor becomes a metaphor for our emotional foundation. And in restoring its cleanliness, we restore our footing. Mopping teaches us that healing is not about erasing the past but restoring balance. And in the end, we learn that every spill is an opportunity to begin again.